I want to drop this one right here because I got quite a few messages on Instagram about this, and I remember a few of you not only leaving messages, but calling on the air about it at the time. I also remember posting stuff about it, and it goes back to the ABC News debate between former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. You remember that one? The one with Trump dropped they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the pets. Well, that debate. After the debate, there was all this crazy stuff going on, right? The MAGAs, where she was getting the questions in her earring, right? She had a special earring. They were talking to her, giving her the answers. Or the reports that she had gotten the questions ahead of time. Remember that? There was a whistleblower, an ABC News whistleblower that was going to just blow the top off these things. They had proof that ABC News had given Kamala Harris, the campaign, the questions that they were going to use in the debate beforehand. Actual viewer mail. No, I'm just kidding. There's an update on what Axios referred to as the gullibility of the American people, the gullibility of the American voter. In the heat of this historic election, educated elites who should know better, billionaires, elected officials, journalists, and the average American keep falling for fakes, conspiracy theories, and quite frankly, outright lies. Human gullibility, they write, isn't a new phenomenon, but social media, polarized politics are exposing it on an industrial scale, fueled by a poisonous cocktail of bad actors, media illiteracy, and plummeting trust in traditional news. In the last few weeks, right-wing influencers have breathlessly spread the false claim that Vice President Harris used a teleprompter during her Univision town hall. Wasn't true. Which the X algorithm then promoted as one of its trending topics, as if it were legitimate. Chip Roy, the Republican congressman from Texas, posted a purported screenshot of a headline in The Atlantic that read, "To save democracy, Harris may need to steal an election." It was a fake headline. Didn't even exist. AI, it's called. Bill Ackman, and this is the part I was starting to refer to, hedge fund billionaire, big donor to Republican causes, 1.4 million followers on X, obsessively promoted those allegations of the ABC whistleblower, right? That the network had given Kamala Harris questions in advance of her debate with Donald Trump. I mentioned several of you sent me the stories on the whistleblower nonsense. A couple of you even called and I said, well, this becomes legit. Then we could talk about it. But I wasn't going to let you expound on something that I knew was bogus. Wasn't true. That's my Joe Biden when I whisper. I said I wasn't giving it any attention because at the time there was zero proof. And you could tell it had all the makings of what we will refer to, what they scientifically call political caca. That's what it was. Well, we won't be talking about it anymore because even Ackman, the kook who initially magnified and spread the silly hoax, finally admitted it was a fake, that he'd been bought into the hook, line, and sinker. But it wasn't just Trump supporters who were prone to gullibility and confirmation bias. Pro-Harris accounts falsely claimed last week that former Bush aide Karl Rove was actually campaigning for Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania. It's amazing what people come up with and what they will fall for, Karl Rove tweeted at the time. Liberal conspiracy theories flooded social media after the first assassination attempt against former President Trump, a phenomenon that researchers dubbed Blueanon, a play on the far-right QAnon movement. The big picture is that misinformation is at crisis levels. It is an epidemic playing out across our country, especially when you look at social media and Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. The dual hurricanes that swept across the Southeast in recent weeks exposed the staggering extent of which people who are prone to conspiracy theories or just spreading misinformation and lies even spurred threats against FEMA employees and other emergency responders. 54% of the responders to an Axios Vibe survey published last month agreed with the statement. Quote, "I've disengaged from politics because I can't tell what's true." 54% agree with that. And quite frankly, I don't know And I said this months ago, I think going back to August, if I didn't have young kids, I would have been happy just falling asleep and waking up November 5th or November 10th or whenever the hell we know who the next president is. And just avoiding all of the garbage we're seeing in the media, traditional media, cable news, social media for sure. Because it's absolutely exhausting. And the nonsense that we get from the extreme left Kamala supporters or the extreme right MAGA supporters, it's ridiculous. Never before, they write, have so many people been exposed to so much misinformation. Given the increased ubiquity of AI-generated content, this may only be the beginning. I saw a video this morning posted of Donald Trump's thing on over the weekend at McDonald's. And by the way, it was a photo op. It was a campaign event. You silly liberals out there going crazy, saying that Donald Trump didn't actually work at McDonald's. Of course he didn't work there. Wasn't even wearing a hairnet. And some of you are going crazy over that. McDonald's isn't endorsing him. It was a photo op. Just like Kamala Harris has had repeatedly at some of these other events. Just like Donald Trump had yesterday when he went to Asheville, North Carolina. They're all photo ops. They're running for president. That's what they do. They try to put themselves in the most positive light possible for voters, or put themselves in a position like Trump, I think, was trying to do, to make their opponent look as bad as possible because he says she never worked at McDonald's. And honestly, there's not a whole lot of information or proof that she did other than her saying, yeah, I worked there for a summer or whatever between my freshman and senior year in college or whatever the hell she said. Doesn't matter. I don't care whether she worked for McDonald's or where she's lying about it. They're two politicians. They're two professional liars. You have to be that to be a politician. Again, don't believe everything you see. Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you hear out of a candidate's mouth. Because increasingly, not only is it a candidate playing politics and telling you only what you want to hear, not the truth, it's misinformation. And it could be AI. Oh, the video that I saw. Donald Trump just shoving French fries in his mouth while at McDonald's. You could tell it was AI because his mouth wasn't working the way a mouth works and stuff. But there's really good ones out there. And people believe the crap. And people are gullible. It's another example about what we've talked about for a couple of years on this show. That we live in a post-truth America. And not only do our politicians lie to us all day long on a regular basis, you can't tell what's true or not. And it's increasingly a problem. Would love to hear what you think when we open up our phone lines coming up after the 11 o'clock news. Natalie has the news in 2.5 minutes. On the other side of that, talk about the latest numbers here in the state of Florida. So we continue the Manny Munoz Show on News Radio 610 WIOD.
11.5 million unvaccinated.